Yes, which was pretty awesome. Some of them were
Off the top of my head, compared.
You are now listening to the Voices of Dubai.
You're listening
Watching the Voices of Dubai with Joe Hage.
This is the Voices of Dubai.
Anna, thank you so much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, Joe.
I remember the first time we met was in 2015.
Yeah.
And I was working as a sound engineer at Montage TV production.
You were.
So here I was, first job in Dubai,
Yeah.
Back from Montreal.
Yeah.
And we were recording a Garnier Ultra Doux ad.
Yes.
I remember that.
You say it so beautifully. Ultra do. I'm very English when I say
Ultra
it.
Doux, yeah, but I mean, we did so many recordings together for that specific brand
We did, yeah.
and for so many others.
Yeah.
And since then, I've had the pleasure of working with you on so many projects throughout the years,
Yeah.
including projects that involved little voices.
Yes.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. The School of Little Voices.
Thank you. Yes, yes. Training kids to do voiceovers.
My first question for you, Anna, is
Yeah.
do you remember your first voiceover project ever?
I do. I do remember that. It was a complete accident. And I think that saying that to people nowadays, because obviously voiceover has turned into a career path on its own, at the time, it wasn't quite so well known because we're going, even though I pretend that I haven't been, I've actually been in radio and voiceover for about 25 years. And
Wow.
yeah, a long time. I started young, darling. But going back then, I was a radio presenter, and I'm a female with quite a deep voice. And obviously, as a voiceover artist, when you have a unique thing, and that's kind of mine. I'm a one-trick pony, but it's quite deep, And if I've had a night out, it gets even deeper. Sound like a man. But this particular day, they said, Anna, would you come and do some liners for us? And it was at my radio station, and I said, yeah, sure. What are we doing? And I thought it was a promo for the show. And they said, can you just read these lines? And it was for Magic FM, which is a big station in the UK. It's the biggest listened to station in London, funnily enough. All the taxis have it on and blah, blah, blah. And so I did the Magic FM. And they went, amazing, right, you are now the voice of Magic FM.
What?
And it was all quite sultry, and I was so amused. And then that became a career on its own.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Very lucky.
So throughout the years, have you experienced any challenges when you first got into the voiceover industry?
Challenges, I think in the UK, and also America, media is a very saturated, mature world. To be a good voiceover artist, or not even to be a good voiceover, let me correct that. To be a voiceover that is successful, you have to hustle 10 times as much. You have to really get in there. And you're up against such big competition because there are thousands and thousands of actors, performers, musicians. It's a really big field over there. I think coming to Dubai 15 years ago, and I had some clients. I was lucky enough. I was doing Classic FM. I was doing Magic FM, Kiss TV. Then I started doing documentaries for Channel 5. And to be honest, it was that kind of, this is quite a nice ride, isn't it? And when I came here with some of those clients, like Harrods, obviously Arabs like Harrods. There's an affiliation in London, so I was the voice of Harrods. So it was lovely to be able to start off doing voiceovers here in the UAE, but it was harder in the UK. So I think the challenge in the UK was just getting into TV and getting to something really substantial. Yeah.
And would you say that you had a memorable or pivotal moment at one point in your career that really changed everything for you as a voice actress?
A pivotal moment in voiceover. I think actually for me it was realizing that I could have that as a career as well. I was so busy being, I was an actress who I got offered radio and decided to take the job. And I kept thinking, I'll win the Oscar after I've done this show, and then I would get offered another job, and then again it was, I'll win the Oscar after I've done this one. Before you knew it, I actually was the first female to have her own breakfast show in radio in the UK, because the female's name never came first, it was always the male. And so this is, this is probably 20-something years ago, to give a girl her own breakfast show was a really big deal.
Wow.
That was pivotal for them and for me. We're giving a female voice her own show. I mean, that means that sexism was really quite up there 20 years ago. And you think that's not long ago, really. So that was a wonderful thing. And then realizing that voiceover could actually be a stream of revenue and a career in itself. That was amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
And in your opinion,
Yeah.
overcoming self-doubt, imposter syndrome is a challenge that a lot of people face in different moments of their life. Was there such a moment for you, and how did you overcome these feelings of self-doubt?
Yeah, there's always self-doubt. I think if you're a good performer, you should have it. I think you should have a certain amount of respect for the fact that you're in a very privileged position. I think you should always have a certain amount of respect for, I need to do well at this. Never take it for granted. Media is an incredible thing to be in, and we all need to be thankful. And I think London's given me that because the competition was so strong. Okay. Coming to the UAE, what I found was that I would make a call to a studio, and you learn in the UK, when you try and make cold calls to get yourself in the door, you ask for the CEO and you might get to speak to the cleaner. When I called here in the UAE 15 years ago, I would ask to speak to the CEO and someone would go, please hold. And then he'd come on the phone. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is amazing. Hi. And then I didn't know what to say because I'd actually got to the person I wanted to get to. So the thing that was beautiful about the UAE, I've always found it so, especially Dubai, if you've got a skill set that they haven't covered yet, and there was no one training voiceovers then, there was no one training children, and if you've got something that they want,
A school called the School of Little Voices.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. It was literally, I walked into a session, it was a BKP, I remember it now, and it was for some really big client. It was L'Oreal or Microsoft or something like that. And they said to me, do you know any kids? And I remember going, what? What do you mean, do I know any kids? And they were, oh, well, we've got a child in the voiceover, we just can't find any. It was at that moment that I realized, London, children have agents for their toenails. Like, it's all done, okay? Children are doing everything. But there was no child talent pool here. And studios were struggling to find child talent. And of course, it's a very big family market. You've got all sorts of things being advertised for families, whether it's brunches, whether it's, back to school, whatever it is. So they want children's voices. So I thought, right, well, I'll train my kids and they can do it. And they were 4 and 5 at the time. And you met both of them. You've worked with both of them, Leila and Albi. And then I thought, well, actually, I could get a few. So I started to get their friends in, and then I trained them, and then I set up a program, and off we go.
Wow.
Yeah, so 60 kids later, doing everything from phone systems to online stuff to, radio commercials, TV commercials, everything. Little Voices did everything. Wow. There was, at one point, I would switch on the radio or the TV and the Little Voices were everywhere. And that was an amazing moment.
Yeah, that's really awesome. That must have been really satisfying for you. Because I remember when you first told me about the School of Little Voices, I believe you had a contract with Creative Force.
Yes. To
record the Little Voices at their studios.
That's right. Yeah, I was training them there.
That's awesome. What about now? Like, how are you maintaining that this activity? Yeah.
I did take some time out. To be honest, it got quite big, and there were so many children, and with children come parents, and so with 60 children all working, you then have 60 sets of parents, and Western parents want their kids to be stars. This is the thing. So then you would have like 60 sets of parents going, what's happening? When's Bobby going to be the new voiceover star? And with any agency, 5% of the talent that you represent gets 90% of the work. And that's the way it is.
Sure.
So 95% of the time I'm talking to the parents going, yeah, I'm not being cast right now. And I don't know why. I can't tell you why. But so I took some time out and I recently started, literally 3 months ago, I've relaunched School of Little Voice at MNK.
Nice.
And so Milton is on board. We're training them professionally. We make sure that children go into the studio. When they come out of the training session, which is 6 weeks long, they know everything from popping to microphones that they mustn't grab, to why every studio looks like a padded cell. Why is that? That sound bounces, that there's sand under the floor. All these little nuances, kids love it. They love being in the know. And once they know what they're doing, then they perform.
That's awesome.
So that's the recipe, yeah.
Speaking of being in the know, my next question is a hypothetical one.
Oh, no. Okay.
I like to call it the 3 truths.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say someone comes up to you.
Yeah.
Anna, given your experience in the field, all your knowledge, all the recording sessions that you've done,
Yeah.
what are for you the 3 truths that you've learned throughout the years and that you can share with someone who's interested in joining the voiceover industry?
Okay, it's 90% technical and 10% voice. So friends may say to you, you've got a great voice, you've got to do voiceovers. Yeah, that's 10% of it. Then you're going to go into a session and you need to have all the skills. So clients can overwrite scripts and they can give you a 30-second script that's actually 45 seconds long. And they're like, go. That's your job to get it into 30 seconds if you can. When they say sound excited but also slow and like it's a day at the spa, you have to kind of go with both of those things. And I think listening is really key. It's all about listening. Radio is all about listening. If you're not listening to the client, if you're not listening to the copywriter, and you're not listening to your sound engineer, you're not going to do a good voiceover. So listening is as important as speaking and trying to work out what the client wants, what the script is about, and am I technically sounding good? Yeah.
So you would say that having a golden voice is not enough?
No, not even scratching the surface. Because remember, there are lots of golden voices. There are lots of beautiful voices. There could be the man in the shop round the corner who sells you a kebab can have a fantastic voice. But can he deliver on the day with the emotion in the time that's needed, in the situation for possibly 4 people who are listening from 4 different cultures who all want it in a different way? That's the other thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you were talking about your acting career.
Yes. Small one.
How did your acting career and a career as a radio presenter affected your voiceover career?
Oh, it's done it wonders. Because the actress in me comes out all the time. And ultimately, voiceovers are a mixture of presenting, acting, voice, sometimes singing, but it's all those things rolled into one. So you can be, the presenter, you can be the sales voice, or sometimes, I went into one particular session and I was told to be a chair. And I had to think, right, what's my chair voice? And I turned around to the client and went, what kind of chair am I? And they went, what? I said, well, am I a dining chair? Or am I a library chair? Or am I leather? Am I new? Like, am I an antique? And all those things go into it. And they had a good think about that. And it was for a furniture shop. And I've been a pot on a cooker as well. That was a good one. That was for washing up liquid. And I was a really dirty pot. And how were we going to get me clean? So what's your dirty pot voice? Like... what is that?
Yeah.
But you're acting. So you need to, if you haven't got an acting bit of you, you're going to struggle because you need to turn that on.
Sure, makes sense.
Yeah.
You've played, if my memory serves me right, we've recorded your voice as a doctor.
Yeah.
Do you remember which brand that was? You're a doctor talking to mums and reassuring them. It was probably some Dettol or...
I feel like it's Dettol or it was Lifebuoy hand soap or something.
Yes, Lifebuoy, And you're the doctor, the specialist, like if you use our product, then your hands will be clean forever.
Your children will be fine. Yes. They won't get germs. Yeah, that's
As
true.
if that's possible, right?
Right. You're promising all sorts. Yeah.
And Anna, you've been the official voice of Emirates Airlines.
Yeah.
You voiced for global brands. I'm talking L'Oréal, FAB, Bentley, Lamborghini, Garnier, just to name a few.
Yeah.
How was your experience recording for so many brands?
Wonderful. And I think that the UAE has got something to do with that because of the system that it uses. I also remember doing a McDonald's commercial, and that was really special because McDonald's don't use females, they use males. So when I got called in to do that commercial, I was like, okay, now I've made it. I've done McDonald's. It was a similar feeling to when I did the London Underground. I am in no way the voice of the London Underground. However, there's a section of 2 underground lines in London that are all me. I think it's the Piccadilly line and the District and Circle. And saying the immortal words of, please stand clear of the doors, you know, I was like, I would have done this job for free.
Yeah.
You know, that was amazing. It's wonderful to do big brands like that. You skip out. And the day you stop skipping out, is the day you should give up.
Nice. And do you remember some of the lines that you had to record for Emirates Airlines?
I remember all of them. I'm probably doing it a lot because it's everything. There's obviously the phone line. Then there's the numbers. There's the radio commercials. There's online stuff. There was a very big ad about 5 years ago, and it's the weirdest session I've ever had. I was told to come in, and they said we can't tell you who it's for, and I went okay. And then they said, and also that won't be on the sheet. And I have one line. And I said, okay, well, give me some background for the
brief.
line. Yeah, I need to find my base here. And they went, we can't. So if you can just say it in that heavy, sort of slow, deep voice you have, we'd like that. And I went, okay. And I had no idea. Anyway, I said it. And at the end, something like game changer. I had to say game changer. And it was this pivotal word. It was quite weird because it's quite a weird sort of word. Anyway, next thing I knew, it was the launch of Emirates first-class cabins online. And it was the strap line to a very famous, who's the guy who does the car program? Jeremy, do you know who I mean?
Who drives around different cars.
Yeah. And he did this massive campaign for Emirates, launching the first-class cabins. And I was the voice that was tagging him at the front and the back.
Wow.
But I didn't know till I saw it online. And I went, oh, it was that. Amazing. And they wouldn't tell me anything. And I had no idea. So I just was, throwing out voice in the dark. But really exciting, yeah.
And once you found out that you were selected as the voice of Emirates, what was your initial reaction?
It was a long process, auditioning process, funnily enough, to be that voice. When I first went in for the auditions, and this is about 12 years ago, they said to me, right, predominantly this is going to be for the phone system globally. We need to change the voice. 85% of our calls are complaints. Okay. So when people phone, they already hate you. Great. So they said, we need a welcoming, smiley person who's going to sound safe and clear, because English might not be their first language. And you need to sound nice so that they calm down, because they're furious that they've got through to a voice or a bot or whatever. So I went, okay. And I did 3 different auditions. I went back to the studio, did it in person, and I finally got picked. I knew they were testing other people, and I got chosen. And that was a win. Even being in voiceovers for 20 years, I still had to audition for that. And that was a big deal, and that was incredible. It was 150 airports across the world, the announcements for that, and now all the radio commercials in different parts of the world. Still exciting.
That's amazing.
I love it, yeah.
And can you recite a couple of lines for our audience?
Makes me feel weird, because nobody's normally looking at me when I do, well, apart from you. You're normally looking at me through the glass. Okay. Welcome to Emirates. To speak to Joe, press 1.
No, it's brilliant. Thank you, Anna.
Silly.
Speaking of bots,
yeah,
AI has really evolved throughout the years, and it came to a point right now where it can literally clone voices.
Yeah.
How do you feel about these recent developments, and how do you think it's going to affect the voiceover industry and other voiceover talents?
There's 2 things. I think that ultimately there's going to be a situation, personally, where companies in the end will start saying voiced by human. I think. That's what I'd like to happen anyway, so that, you know, it becomes a kind of an impressive thing to actually have got a human in, not to have used AI. I mean, I'm hoping there'll be some differentiation.
Well, I'm seeing
there.
it already on
Right.
LinkedIn.
Are you?
It's a hashtag called #HireHuman.
Right. It's coming, isn't it? And
Yeah.
I think we will get branding. The second thing is I see it as the drone situation. So remember when drones came in and there just wasn't laws for them because no one knew of these things. Suddenly we had cameras flying over people's houses, over people's gardens. They can see in their houses. It was causing problems for aeroplanes. But there was no kind of legislation yet because the courts hadn't dealt with this. So you had kids with these really quite powerful tools that were going everywhere. And gradually legislation caught up and there were rules made, and now you can't fly a drone anywhere. I mean, certainly not in the UAE. You know, it's very strict rules about what you can do, and it's privacy regulating and all that kind of stuff. I feel like AI is the same. It's suddenly landed. Everyone's going, this is amazing. And we're in everyone's living rooms, and we're in, you know, we're overstepping on all sorts of areas. At some point, they're going to bring in regulation to say, you can't copy Denzel Washington's voice and then roll it out as if it's Denzel. It's not, that's not okay. That belongs to him.
It's not ethical.
It's not ethical. Exactly. So I think that legislation will catch up. We just need to, you know, wait for it to happen. I think it will be realized. Yeah.
And in your opinion and with your experience, what is your definition of a great voice actor?
Oh, someone who makes you forget for those seconds that he's talking about anything else and you're just glued. That is a good voiceover artist. If you listen to the greats, you know, the movie Trailer Man.
Don LaFontaine?
Exactly. In a World, all those kind of things. In that moment, you're locked on. You know, especially if you're in a cinema and you're listening to him, you're looking at the world. You're looking at the astronaut, the princess, whatever it is. So if you can even do that for 5 minutes, 5 seconds, you know, 1 second, then you're good at your job.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Anna, so you're a radio presenter,
Yeah.
a voiceover actress, you got the School of Little Voices. You're super productive. Like ever since I met you, you're super productive, busy, doing things that help and service other people. How do you manage your time effectively to make sure that you're productive in all these areas?
I wouldn't say that I hit the mark all the time. I think that I like, I like being busy. I've never lost ambition, and I love it if I see an area or see a thing and go, well, hang on, we should be doing this. Let's do it. And I tend to roll into it or jump into it without thinking, hang on, I've got space for this. So I will get pulled along by the throat sometimes. And you just have to take a deep breath. You know, today coming to you, this is such fun. Like, I want to do this. But there's actually 4 shows that I need to record today. Two for the UAE and at least 2 for Saudi. And there's a voiceover. And I need to pick up my son, and I need to reply to some of my students who I'm training tomorrow. That's my to-do list. But all I could think about today was coming to talk to you.
I really appreciate that.
No, it's great. It's great because, you know, life throws you these things every now and then. You've got to grab them. I think it's grabbing it. Don't you? You've grabbed it.
Yes.
You've grabbed this. Yeah,
And
grab it.
it comes back to what you were saying earlier about having this go-getter attitude.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it, you know, if you have a great idea and you know that you have something of value to share with other people, then you should just go ahead and do it.
Jump in. And try not to think, am I an imposter? Which is what you talked about earlier. And you know, statistically, females feel imposter syndrome more than men. There's lots of kind of research around that. And, you know, when my husband leaves for work, he doesn't think, have I loaded the cup? I mean, this is very stereotypical, but he doesn't think, have I loaded the cups into the dishwasher? Have I made the lunch for Albie, who's going to school? And have I fed the cat? He's like, no, I'm going to the yacht, and it's very important.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm literally, you know, brushing my hair, putting on lipstick, talking to someone, feeding the cat, you know, and that is, you know, I kind of like that difference in the sexes. I think that's quite fun. But it also is me. I would be doing that anyway, watering the garden while also, you know, on a call about an Emirates commercial. It's how we roll.
Yeah.
Like
That's
that.
awesome.
Yeah.
As long as you're used to your own way of things, I guess, and you're comfortable with who you are, you know who you are,
Yeah.
then it makes things easier and more enjoyable.
Yeah. Just go at it until you stop.
We're going to add that as a hashtag go at it.
Amazing. Please start a hashtag. I'd love that.
And Anna, would you please tell us more about your career throughout the years? So first starting in the UK, all the way to Dubai, and then in Dubai, and how everything kind of evolved.
Yeah, okay. And it is a story of two parts. It really is. So, when I think back, I always wanted to be an actress from the age of dot. My father was an actor. My mum was a theatrical agent. So the house was full of actors, performers, singers. That was always the way it was. My sister's the same. She does audiobooks. She's a voiceover, blah, blah, blah. I remember being on TV as a child in the UK. I was about 7, and for 2 years I was on a children's Saturday morning programme. They used to bus us in, and then on Saturday mornings I was on, national TV, and then I would go to school on the Monday morning, and I loved it, just loved it. So I think, that's always been there. I tried to go to drama school, but my parents couldn't afford to send me. That was a whole deal. Ended up going to university. Came out of university absolutely thinking I was going to win an Oscar. I did. I was like, I'm going to be an actress. Well, that doesn't happen because it's so competitive. It's so hard. I didn't come out of drama school. Everyone was like, Anna who? And I did a few sort of extra bits on TV that I could scrape around for. Dated the sound guy. Didn't get anywhere. And then ended up in radio accidentally. And that was the loveliest thing. And it's radio that's led me to voiceover work. And I don't know what's led me to training. I've got no idea. But there was a pause while I had children, landed in Dubai, and off I went again. And that career was lovely because this is an environment, as I've mentioned, that is just so... They're so ready for you, and there's yes people, and they want your talent. If you've got a talent and your skill set and you're nice, don't come in being horrible. They don't want you then. But you're nice. They want you. The career in Dubai has been lovely, and they've made me feel, the UAE people have made me feel that there's nothing I can't do. And for that, I'll always be thankful.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's really inspirational. And I could tell, correct me if I'm wrong, but I could tell in what you were saying that ever since small age, you were already involved in so many different activities, and you already had a busy schedule.
I suppose, yes.
So did you get used to that that busyness and that level of productivity early on?
I suppose, yeah. I've never thought about it before, Joe, but you're completely right. And I also had busy parents. I mean, my dad would have spells out of work because that's what it's like to be an actor. So he would be at home, but more than my mum. My mum was super busy. She was at the theatre. She was going to see, premieres. She had actors all around her. So she was the busy one. And whenever I went to the theatre, it was with my mum, and we were normally going to see a client, and then we would go backstage to meet them in the dressing room afterwards. So I always loved that whole environment of being around performers. There was nowhere else I was going. I was never going to be an accountant. It was always performing, for sure.
So you always knew early on that the field of arts and performance and music was something that attracted you, and you were going towards that.
Yeah, that's where I was going, absolutely. And if I hadn't been in front of the camera, I probably would have been behind it, or in front of the mic, I would have been behind it, because I love the feel of everything. I love all of it. I love the countdown before you start something. Live radio is... I actually heard Priti talking about it, Priti Malik, talking about live radio, and everything she said was so true recently. There is nothing like live radio. This mic is on. You are the ear in everyone's car, if you think of a speaker like an ear. And that's what we are. We're right here. Here's my mouth to the mic. And that comes out in someone's car. It's a very personal relationship. If you shout, it's going to be offensive to them.
Sure.
But equally, if you spill your coffee, if you hiccup or sneeze, if you get your words wrong, if you swear, I mean, all these things you have to not do in that time you're in front of a live microphone. There is nowhere else I would rather be.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you get the jitters or stage fright before the mic is on and you're live recording on radio?
No.
Wow.
I don't, but not in radio. I do more so if there's cameras. I don't know why. Or if I can see the audience now. That's a later thing. So if I have to do, I don't really host events anymore because I've suddenly got like nerves that I never used to have. I was utterly fearless years ago. I'm not now. But a microphone is a friendly thing because ultimately you can always explain your way out of a situation. And also in radio, it's always funny when something goes wrong. The audience love it when something goes wrong. Never forget that. And I say when I'm talking to other presenters, you know, new ones, remember that it doesn't matter if you get something wrong. Address it, let the audience in, tell them you've messed it up, or you've spilt your coffee, or you've done something. Because I tell you what, they'll be turning the volume up, not down. They don't go, oh, you spilt his coffee, I'm turning over. They go, oh no, something's gone wrong. You turn it up, you listen harder, let your audience in.
Wow, I love that, Anna. That actually reminds me of Simon Sinek. Have you heard of him?
I have. Why have I heard of him?
He wrote a bunch of books,
Yeah.
one of them called Start With Why.
Oh.
So what's the reason that you do things that you do in life?
Right.
And he has he has spoken at so many TEDx talks and presentations. And actually I took one of his online classes called The Art of Presenting. And it's so funny because you were talking and all I could remember was one of the chapters of his online course.
Right.
That was saying that if you present something and you're worried about how you look or what you're saying or the mistakes that you're making,
Yeah.
then you're going in with a taker's attitude.
Right.
Because you're worried about, oh, it's all about me, you
Yeah.
know, like how I'm looking, how I'm appearing to people.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go in with a giver's mindset and you're here to share your knowledge, you're here to share other people's stories
Right.
and share them with the people, then you're no longer self-conscious because you're here with a giver's attitude.
Right.
You know,
Love
you don't really care how you look or are they gonna like me. It's more about the content that you're sharing, and you're
Right.
confident about the content you're sharing, and you're happy to be sharing it with people.
Yes. Yes.
So as soon as you're saying that, like let them in. You know, if you
Let
made a
them in.
mistake, if you fumbled your words, you know, like, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
just tell them, oh, I don't know what happened here. You know, there was a scratch on the CD and I had to rewind.
Very good. Yeah, make a joke of it. Because everyone stutters, everyone says things. You know, voiceover artists, we make mistakes all the time, tripping over words and scripts and things like that. But live radio, it's a position of power, but also you need to respect your audience. So don't think they haven't noticed. You know, if you sneeze, you sneeze. You know, and it's happened to me, and I've sneezed right into the microphone. That's a funny moment. But equally, if you start to cry, don't hide that. You know, if it's an emotional thing, that's happened to me before, and that's quite daunting because you're like, oh no, I'm going to cry. This is. But what you don't want is a camera on you. I don't want to be doing the cry face in the middle of a camera. But for a microphone, you know. A microphone is a friendly place and a lovely place, and people will listen, and you can explain everything. Yeah.
So would you say that being genuine, being authentic is a better way of really giving more of yourself
Yeah.
into capturing an audience?
Yeah, definitely. You just reminded, so my ex-husband, it was very funny because obviously he went out with a radio girl. When I met him, I was doing the travel for 3 different radio stations just outside London, and then I got a big radio show, and I was the co-host, and it was for Capital, and that was the big one in the UK. And I'd come in on a Monday morning, and you do the whole, so how was your weekend? And everything that happened comes in with you. If you're a good radio presenter, you bring it all in. And I would talk about him, and I would talk about, you know, what we'd done, where we'd been, you know, nightclubs, events, whatever it was. If he did something stupid, yeah, that was on the show. If he left his towels on the bathroom floor, that was on the show. Everything that he did was on the show. And someone once said to him, it was at an event, and they turned to him and they said, do you mind that, because there was about, you know, it's about 500,000 people used to listen every day. And this person said, do you mind? Because that 500,000 people, they all know your name. You know, they know it's Sam. They all know your name. They all know everything about you. They know what you do in the bathroom. She talks about everything. And he went, goes with the tide, goes with the roll. That's what I do. Nothing's off the table. And I always remember that statement of, because I had never asked him that. I just used to roll in and go, oh, well, he does this. And so for him to have realised that being with me meant nothing was off the table, I thought, well done, that man. You know, well done for knowing that. And he never gave me grief.
Wow.
Never.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's being exposed literally like every week. And,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And my kids are too. I take how I am now with you is how I am on the radio. I've never been any different. I find it very difficult to sort of read quite a formal thing. You know, if I was doing the news, I'd have to break out of character at some point and go, because what I do is I'm just me. And I think if you're real, I think an audience can hear it and see it, and don't underestimate them, you know.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And Anna, can you please tell us about the award you were talking to me about?
Oh, it's really exciting. So I thought the award days were kind of gone. I won a Sony for my breakfast show, actually, in the UK. And at the time, this is 20 years ago, so anyone in radio is going, oh, Sony, when they don't exist anymore because the various radio factions split and there's two different radio awards. But when you won a Sony, it was like a big thing at the time. And it was like winning an Oscar. So to win that was amazing. And I was so proud of myself. I got invited to Buckingham Palace to meet the Queen for my contributions to media. And obviously she's not alive now. That was really a big deal. But Prince Charles as well, Prince Andrew, I don't mention that anymore. All of those, it was such an incredible sort of era. So I put that to bed and, obviously have a career here. It's not something. And then literally a few weeks ago, my Saudi radio station phoned and said, we are going to submit you for an award. And funnily enough, it's not for radio this time, it's for voiceover work.
Wow.
I was surprised at how hungry I was for that award.
Wow.
Now I'm like, now I really want it. Now I care. What do I have to do? And they're laughing at me. But it's, and it's for America, it's for New York, it's a big award thing. And it's in there. So we'll know next year.
Amazing. Best of luck.
Thank you so much.
When are they announcing the winners?
April.
Yes,
and the deal is, they said to me, if you win or you're in the top 3, we're going to fly you to Las Vegas to accept the award.
Amazing.
I mean, what a dangling carrot. Now
Wow.
I'm like, please, I want this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck.
Thank you so
you got all the experience and the knowledge and all the sessions behind you. So,
Thank you.
Fingers crossed.
So sweet of you, Joe. Thanks.
And speaking of awards,
Yeah.
have you heard of the SOVAS, Society of Voice Arts and Sciences?
No, and now I want to be part of it. Tell me everything.
Yes, you should consider joining next year.
Oh.
On December 10th,
Yep.
they're going to announce the winners, and I've been nominated as Best International Voiceover Artist.
Have you?
Yes.
I love that.
And I've been just like thinking about that day they're going to announce the winners, and it's happening in Los Angeles.
Okay. Why don't we fly out together?
That'd be awesome.
That'd
Go
be
to
so
the
good.
gala dinner and
I'll come with you. You come with me. We'll support each other.
yes,
Amazing.
And the winner is Anna Schofield.
Okay, it's a deal. We said it. We said it live on camera.
We said it live. We have
Yeah.
it. Khaled, please remind us if we forget.
He's on it.
Guys, thank you for listening. And if you have any other questions for Anna, please make sure to include them in the comments. If you like this episode, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you again on another episode of The Voices of Dubai.